In today's episode, I'm going to help you understand what to know before buying a short-term rental. What crucial things should you know before buying a short-term rental property? Are there some important hacks that could save you some undue concern before you buy? There absolutely is. And by the end of this video, I'm going to reveal all the secret things that I have done on the half dozen short-term vacation rentals that I've bought over the last couple of years. So I'm a huge fan of short-term rentals. For me, it's a vacation waiting to happen in an area that I love that you're actually making money from. However, short-term rentals can be challenging if you do not know what to look for before purchasing them. But the good news, we're going to cover all that by first explaining what short-term rentals are and why they're so popular. Secondly, I'm going to break down for you what you actually need to look for before buying a short-term rental. And finally, I'm going to share with you a couple of real-world examples of the short-term rentals that I own and what I did before buying them. If you're ready, let's go. So a short-term rental is just that. It's where somebody stays for a short period of time, anywhere between 2 nights and 7 nights. It's where people go to go on vacation or for a short-term stay, but they want something outside of a hotel, right? They want to experience something. They want something that is maybe a little bit larger, maybe it has more bedrooms, more bathrooms than a hotel. You aren't sleeping right next to a family member, but you can spread out and enjoy yourself and experience the area you're visiting like a local would. And these could be a ton of different things. They could be anything from a treehouse in the forest. It could be a condo in a big city that you want to go visit. I've even seen something recently of a series of old grain bin silos that have been converted into short-term rentals out in the middle of Iowa. Anyway, they look awesome. Just the fact that they are redone and remodeled and the inside looks awesome is a place I'd love to go stay just to experience that. But I'll tell you, one of the funnest ones I've ever seen is actually in a remote area of Idaho called Cottonwood, Idaho. It is a short-term rental that is built looking like a dog. It's called the Dog House. It literally looks like a dog. Go ahead and Google Dog House, Cottonwood, Idaho, and it'll pull up images. It's probably the funnest one that I've ever seen. I've never been there in person, but it's definitely on my bucket list. So short-term rentals could actually be anywhere, right? It could be a very remote area that people might go to because of what you own and its uniqueness. Whether it's, like I said, that yurt or the dog house or the tree house, it could literally be anywhere. And one of the reasons they're so popular is because currently in the environment we live in, we are living in the experience economy. As individuals, we want to experience something, right? We just don't want the bland old hotel stay. We want to experience everything that it has to offer by living in a home or being in a home or a condo that is downtown in the city or in an area that we can experience as our family. So having that experience is why you're seeing short-term rentals grow in demand so much over the last 3, 4, 5 years and continue to grow. And honestly, I think if you ask yourself, would you rather stay in an Airbnb or a Vrbo or a hotel? I think most of us would want to stay in an Airbnb, depending on our situation. But for most time, especially for vacationing or traveling, an Airbnb is the best place to stay, in my opinion. So one last reason why short-term rentals are so popular is because they can really be money makers, right? If you found a home or a condo that's a good price and you can rent it out at a nightly rate versus a long-term stay, your opportunity to make revenue and income from that is so much greater than a long-term stay. If you had a condo and you're going to rent that out over a long period of time, you might rent that out for $2,000 a month. However, if you could rent it out on a short-term nightly stays, you might be able to charge $200 per night. And if you could have 20 nights in a month occupied, that's $4,000 versus $2,000. So that's another reason they're popular and people are excited about them, because you can make a significant amount of money. Now, obviously the demand and price has gone up to meet some of that, but there are still gems out there that you can find. To start a short-term rental business, there's a handful of things you got to understand. First off, how do you find them? And I'll tell you what I did. I went onto Google and I searched like crazy to find the areas that were the best areas for short-term rentals in the United States. I started comparing the list, and the ones that rose to the top are the ones that I had selected and started doing more research on. After I had my handful of areas that looked really good, I then started to look on AirDNA, which is an awesome tool where you can go plug in certain areas and they'll give you average occupancy rate, average nightly rate, and average monthly revenue. Now, there are features that if you pay for it, you get a lot more information, but this is the free account that you just register your email and a password and you can go ahead and utilize their site. But I started comparing the numbers with the areas that I thought were really good, and it started honing down for me the areas that I wanted to look at. Now, once you have the areas that you want to look at, there's about 5 things that you really have to understand before buying a short-term rental. First thing is regulations. Now, when it comes to regulations, you have to understand if that area is going to be changing things, or the specific area or development you're in might be somewhere where they outlaw short-term rentals. The areas that I've bought them, I understand and know that a lot of times the economy is built on having people vacation there, and people wanting to stay at a vacation rental or short-term rental is what's driving that economy for some of the short-term rentals that I own. But I have heard stories of cities, municipalities that want to change some of the rules and regulations of short-term rentals because they feel like it's hurting the residents or the community itself. So understanding the regulations in the area that you're looking to buy is really important to understand. Second, are you able to afford the area? Now, if your budget is $300,000 for a short-term rental and you're looking in an area that has places for sale that are much larger than that, $400,000, $500,000, you probably need to skip that area and move on to another one, right? I think that goes without saying, but if you can't afford something in that area that's in your budget, move on to the next area. The next thing you want to look at is active listings. Are there short-term rentals listed there? Are people staying there? And are short-term rentals available for sale? Are there properties that you could utilize as a short-term rental that are already short-term rental or could easily convert into it? And are those allowed through the regulations? But active listings is another key indicator whether it's a good area or not for short-term rentals. Another important aspect is optimal size, beds and baths, right? When you go on AirDNA and you research and you start finding some of these homes and you start clicking on them, and you can click and see how many bedrooms and bathrooms that they offer, and you start comparing the occupancy rate, nightly rates, and even the monthly revenue of some of those areas that have the optimal bedroom size that you want. So understanding optimal bedroom and bath size in the area you're searching is also really important. And obviously revenue target is really important. I'll touch on this and how I come to utilize revenue as a determining factor whether it's a good deal or not. I'll explain that to you here at the end of the video. So what caution should you consider when purchasing a short-term rental? So first off, you got to realize that it takes time and effort. I mean, you got to understand the demographic and market that you're marketing to. These are people that want to have an experience. They want to stay. They want everything to be great. So that takes time, energy, and effort to make sure that you're providing that type of experience for people. Anytime somebody rents out one of our short-term rentals, we have a big long email or message that we send to them to say, listen, here's what to expect. Here's internet password. Here's all these things. But here's also some amazing things to do in the area, amazing places to eat, even a few secret things that most people don't know, but we're telling you about it. When people get that from us, they absolutely love that, right? So it takes time, energy, and effort to make sure that the demographic you're serving is going to be pleased with the vacation rental they're staying at or short-term rental they're staying at that you own. Also, you need to be careful about saturated areas. But I'll tell you, we own short-term rentals in saturated areas. And if you do something unique or make your short-term rental stay out or make your short-term rental stand out, that's not going to matter. For example, we own a short-term rental in Blue Ridge, Georgia, and there's a ton of short-term rentals there. The cool thing about it, we have one that has an amazing view, and that's why we bought it. People go up there to get away from the city. They travel 2 hours north, 2.5 hours north of Atlanta or other areas, and they go there. They feel like they're completely away from everything. They can look miles and miles and miles out the back window and see a view as the sun goes down, that blue hue that comes for the Blue Ridge Mountains, and just some amazing things. And so there's things you can do to make your property stand out, and doing so will set you apart. One thing that I've always done when I buy a short-term rental is I go search, what is the most unique thing that you liked? And I'll just Google this. What is the most unique thing that you've liked about your stay at a short-term rental? And I'll just take different ideas and implement those things. Like some of our places have those hot dog rollers that you might find in a gas station. And some of our larger Airbnbs where we know that families are going to go there, having that hot dog roller there is something great that the kids think are pretty dang cool. But those are just little things you can add to it to make the experience that much better, to set your short-term rental apart from the rest. And the other thing you need to know as you're getting started in a short-term rental business, you have to have a list of all of the items that they need, right? Because now you're not just renting it out long-term. People aren't bringing their stuff, but you need all the stuff in the kitchen, from the dishes to the cooking pots and pans, to the towels, to shampoo, body wash, everything. So you've got to have a list of all those things you need. And you can probably Google that and find that list, but it's important to have that list to know that the home that you're considering purchasing as a short-term rental has all the amenities that people look for when they're staying somewhere in a short-term rental. Now, finally, how can you get started? Honestly, you can actually start really small. I remember one of the first places I stayed on Airbnb was a room, right? It was a room in a townhome that I was traveling one night, and somebody let me stay in a room, and I paid money for that. I didn't hear the person, even though we shared the kitchen that morning. I didn't see them, or after they'd gone to work. So you can start small. You can rent out a room in your house. It could be a condo somewhere. It could be a townhome, something small. You don't have to have something large, right? It could even be a relative's home that you're maybe renting out and turning into a short-term rental. So just think that it doesn't have to be grand. It could be something small. Now let's talk about the financial aspect. And I think this is really important, and I want to end here. If you were considering purchasing a short-term rental Here are the numbers you need to understand. And this is what I've always looked at when I bought short-term rentals. I look at annual rents. If annual rents are 10% of the purchase price, it's a decent deal. Now with today's economy, with interest rates being as high as they are, I say it's a decent deal. If interest rates ever came back down to 3-4%, it could be a good deal. If annual rents are 20% of the purchase price, it's a really good deal. Of the purchase price, it is a great deal. Do not pass it up. Buy it, whatever you've got to do, engage in it. If you can't buy it, call me, we'll buy it together. Now, these are a few things that I've done before buying my short-term rentals that I really dove into to try to understand that helped me have successful short-term rentals. I'd be interested in what you've done. What are some of your insights? Feel free to leave a comment. Let's engage in a dialogue. And as always, I've got a free gift for you just by watching this episode. It's aaronsfreetraining.com. Click on the link below. It is that short-term rental calculator that you can go put in the purchase price, enter in the expenses, and it will spit out to you whether it's a good deal or not and give you all the information you need to make a good decision. Once again, thanks for stopping by. Have an awesome day.